Today ASPI releases a new report examining Australia's policing relationship with Papua New Guinea. And I'm fortunate today to have the two authors of that new ASPI report, David Connery and Carl Claxton. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Firstly to you, David, could you tell us why this report is particularly timely?
Yeah, Anthony, I think there are three key reasons for it. One is Australia's putting actually a lot of investment at the moment into the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary.
Mm-hmm.
We think that it's costing us around the $40 million a year mark. Secondly, the PNG's police minister has indicated that he would like to see a review of this mission. And that got us thinking about whether Australia is putting too much into this mission. Is it putting just the right amount into this mission, or should we be putting in more if it wishes to achieve the objectives we'd all like to see, which is a stable Papua New Guinea where the rule of justice and the rule of law prevails?
We'll come to the principal findings of your report in a minute, David, but to you, Carl, perhaps you'd like to set the policing relationship between the two countries in a broader context of our security relations with Papua New Guinea. What are the key drivers there, and perhaps how does the law enforcement side sit within that broader range of security interests that we have?
Well, there are two reasons why good PNG policing is important to Australia. Firstly, the direct reasons. There's a sort of dark side to the welcome effects of globalisation in PNG and the growing size of the PNG market, the growing industry in Papua New Guinea, and growing trade links into Australia directly into some of our smaller ports means that as the PNG economy grows, the chances for transnational crime to seep through that border will grow. The second set of reasons are less direct but more interesting. As David said, Australia has an enormous stake in a successful and confident and sovereign Papua New Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
It sits right across our direct approaches, so it's very proximate, and Australia still has a huge stake and investment there. We've got consular responsibilities, and for a whole range of reasons we want Papua New Guinea to be successful. And there are signs that Papua New Guinea is emerging successfully, but it stands at a crossroads, really. They're looking towards 20% GDP next year, for example, but at the same time, street-level economic activity is actually declining. And so some of the pressures that have afflicted Papua New Guinea over the next decade will rise, and Papua New Guinea's enormous potential is constantly undercut by crime, particularly by corruption, but also more direct types of crime. So it's in Australia's interest to be in there helping as much and as effectively as we can.
So, David, we know, of course, that you and Carl did field work in preparation for this study. What were your principal findings, and what recommendations have fallen out of your research?
Well, main three key findings were, firstly, that this is a generational task. This is not a task that's going to be done quickly. So we need to have a long-term partnership that's built on a very long-term plan to improve PNG Constabulary's capability. The second point is that it is not a narrow task, it's a very broad one, and we need to be applying resources and assistance across all aspects of the Papua New Guinea Constabulary to help improve it. The third point is that this mission could benefit from some internationalisation. At the moment, it is an extremely bilateral activity improving police capacity in PNG. We think it could benefit by bringing in a few more international partners to help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as for the current mission itself, we've got about 73 AFP officers currently in PNG.
Mm-hmm.
We think that the role gold standard of how to do this would be to go to something like the Enhanced Cooperation Program, which ran in 2004-2005. This had about 240 AFP officers into line positions. We don't, however, think that's practical right now. We don't think that the PNG government has the appetite to change the constitution and give the necessary immunities for that kind of a mission to go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So instead we're recommending an increase in resources. We think doubling about the current level of resourcing that's placed in PNG would help over the next 10 years to create a noticeable improvement in the PNG constabulary.
Carl, as David said, in the past we've had difficulties with our policing support in PNG. Are there any reasons why we should be more sanguine about the prospects for your recommendations this time around than what we've seen in some of our previous experience?
We found three key reasons for the mixed results of previous efforts.
Mm-hmm.
First one is that it's been very fluctuating. It's gone up and down, and that's partly because of the ECP experience, but also there's been a lack of an enduring long-term mission that simply hasn't been there to give everyone the confidence and the certainty in that this is a long-term project, an enduring relationship as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
The second problem has been simply one of lack of resources compared to the scale of the challenges faced, and we are putting in a lot of resources now, but as David and I find that the scale of resources could usefully be increased. And thirdly, the capacity building in any area of PNG policy is difficult. The criminal justice system isn't just about the formal systems of criminal justice, but a lot of day-to-day criminal justice, and particularly in the rural areas where 80% of the population lives, is under informal systems. And the police are just one part of the formal law and justice sector, which has a range of important agencies in it, particularly the Attorney General's Department, Department of Corrections, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
all of which require strengthening and all of which do get help from organisations such as the Australian Attorney General's Department. But the police are always going to be the first line responders, and they need a lot of help, and we think that it's important that that help be given.
Can I ask both of you, perhaps David first, are there any lessons from our defence cooperation program with Papua New Guinea that we could draw upon for advancing the policing cooperation that you're proposing?
I think there are two. First one is about an enduring partnership. So the Defence Cooperation Program is written as a long-term treaty. We think the police program could go to similar lines. The second, and this has been a more recent innovation, has been the use of mobile training teams by Defence. We think that this has got real utility in the police context, largely because there are so many police stations, 199 of them, spread all over a very geographically diverse and dispersed country, that having a mobile training team that can go around to help policemen after they've graduated to go through their remaining competencies to build themselves up into good, fully qualified constables is a real element that's missing. Similarly to training for supervisors. Making sure that supervisors get that essential training is another thing that a roving training team could do quite well.
Yeah, I think David's dead right to talk about the value of the enduring relationship, and an enormous amount has been achieved of benefit to both countries with that very long-term, steady, patient partnership. And the PNGDF was quite unstable after the Bougainville experience, and is now credited right around the region as essentially a capable and stable force. But the RPNGC, the PNG police, actually have a much more difficult job to do on a day-to-day basis than the PNG Defence Force. And so we shouldn't be under any illusions that the task here is actually larger and harder. The PNG police have to be out there every day in very, very difficult situations trying to keep order, and so the need there is even bigger than with defence, and we should expect that it's going to be even harder than with defence, but defence shows what can be achieved, and we would argue that it's even more important for police cooperation to be stabilising the country than defence cooperation.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Carl. And their new report, Shared Interests, Enduring Cooperation, The Future of Australia PNG Policing Engagement, is now available from ASPI's website. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.